Deep within the hills of southern Indiana lies a wilderness of karst topography, filled with flat-top ridges, geo-laden stream beds, and groves of volunteer wildflowers. It is the only wilderness area in Indiana, a state where public land is just 4% of its total area. Settlers first arrived here in 1826, and was one of the last pieces of the state to have its steep hills and narrow ridgetops tamed by humans. As recently as half a century ago, 81 farms dotted the area. Every ridge was planted in corn or hay, and 57 miles of road traversed the higher ground. Although the landscape still shows considerable evidence of human alterations, this wilderness is slowly returning to its natural and wild state. I made my first visit to this wooded sanctuary and its 39 miles of trail, initially in search of ephemeral wildflowers, but instead finding a new place for solace, respite, and peace amongst the chaos of life. This is my story of backpacking through the Charles C. Deam Wilderness Area. On March 29th, I awoke before daylight and drove 3 hours north from Lexington to the Hickory Ridge Lookout trailhead outside Norman, Indiana. I would then begin a 15.5-mile trek on the Sycamore Trail, Axum Branch Trail, Grub Ridge Trail, and the Peninsula Trail down to Lake Monroe, before climbing back up the peninsula and camping along the ridgetop overlooking the lake. It was a brisk and clear morning, with the temperatures in the upper 30s. New life was bubbling forth from the earth everywhere. I was greeted by constant spring beauties and trillium seedlings as I wound my way along the path. The hemlocks and pines created a pleasant, shaded canopy for me to walk through, and its evergreen foliage reflected a golden green light that bounced off the many fragrant needles that my boots were now anointed with. The early morning chill didn't last for long. The first signs of that coveted, resplendent warmth began to melt away the frays of winters past. I hopped onto the Axum Branch Trail, with a regenerating vigor in my spirit and bones. So far, the trails have been wonderful. The first close to 6 miles, I was on the Sycamore Trail for most of the morning. Lots of evergreens, beautiful creeks. Got to see a handful of ephemeral spring wildflowers, which I've never put forth this amount of effort searching them while walking along the trail, so that's a new experience. And the weather is killer. It's like mid-50s right now, so can't wait to see what the rest of this day holds. White cheddar Cheez-Its. Mango. Gatorade. The climb out of Axum Branch to the Grub Ridge intersection was a surprising challenge, and by the end of it I had worked up a significant sweat. It made me thankful for the day's sunshine and breeze. When I reached the Peninsula Trail, the turquoise blue water of Lake Monroe was peering through the hardwoods to guide me to its shores. As I began my descent, I stumbled upon a campsite that left me truly speechless. I have never felt the urge to rest at a place that I just discovered more than I did amongst those March lilies. Those stunningly bright yellow blooms were like an inviting host to me, and my mind instantly raced back to the cadence of Wordsworth that my family used to recite to me over the years. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. I wanted to claim this campsite as my own, but the allure of a lakeside view pushed me further north. Lake Monroe put me in a trance. By this point in the day, the sun was at its highest, and the tide hitting the pebbly beach made all surrounding noise a blur. Its beauty was undeniable, and would have made a fitting sunset campsite in warmer months. But with the wind whipping strongly around the coves of the peninsula, my mind was fixed on sleeping amongst the daffodils. I climbed back up the ridge, praying that that sacred space was still vacant. Setting up camp was a joy. I felt like I was floating while I pitched my tent. The sense of new life and renewal was almost effervescent to me. There was a freshness in the atmosphere, made evident by the dancing yellow companions along the slumbering soil now awoken. I was excited to collect firewood and relax among the truest expression of spring. gonna get better than this. I went to bed, happy and content, with the brightest and fullest moon I had ever witnessed to illuminate the horizon from my tent. It was a surreal and serendipitous slumber. The next morning was just as pleasant. I awoke to a crimson sunrise and cranes swooping over the surface of the lake. I packed up, eager to experience this new day of life and resurrection of the earth's splendor. My second and final day on trail had me looping around the southern half of the wilderness, with stints on the Grub Ridge and Cope Hollow trails, before shaving some mileage through a small detour across to the Martin Hollow Trail that would eventually lead me back to my truck approximately 14 miles later. By the time I reached Brooke's cabin, the temperature had risen almost to 70, and nearly 20-mile-per-hour gales were coming from the northwest. The story of this cabin is truly remarkable, surviving everything from the elements to neglect to vandalism over the past 130 years, to now becoming the welcome center for Deam wilderness. It serves as testament to the ruggedness of these settlers, whose descendants picked up every beam and stone in the 1990s and hauled it 60 miles north to its current resting place for remembrance of times past. I could feel the history and character radiating off its quaint frame. The southern half of Deam felt as rugged as that cabin did. Its forest canopy seemed to have experienced previous storm damage, as there were pine trees toppled to the ground like slain giants of an ancient battle. The wind gave evidence to that too, for the treetops became crashing ocean waves above me. The hills seemed steeper too, and by the end, I was grateful to know I was coming close to my destination. I waited until the end before climbing up Hickory Ridge Fire Tower to take in its panoramic views. It is 110 feet tall with 133 steps to the top, and they were the crowning jewels to this successful trip. The rolling hills and secluded hollows you could see were satisfying reminders of the 30 miles I had traversed in the past 24 hours. Well, I'm back in my truck. I'm ready to head back to Lexington. that's it for Charles C. Deam Wilderness in Hoosier National Forest, just a little over 30 miles. This is yet another trip I've been pleasantly surprised after doing it. This is a great wilderness area, giving you a sense of remoteness, lots of wildlife, and flora and fauna diversity. I would love to come back here in the fall to see the colors, or after a really good snowfall as well. And as you can see, it's really great in the springtime too. So definitely can't recommend it enough, and I hope to come back again soon. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Till next time, get outside, folks. It'll really do you some good. That's for sure a blooper. Oh no. Oh no. Wind is crazy. Good morning from the Charles Deam Wilderness. It is, what day is it? Oh no. Done messed up. March 29th. Good morning from Charles Deam Wilderness. It is Monday, March 29th. I am now